Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam, Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha, Jai Hindu Yoga Dharma. From renunciation to celebrity, and perhaps back again. Oh, we humans, my friends, we can do some pretty silly things. You know, for thousands of years, we human beings, we've been searching for meaning, for guidance, for healing, liberation, truth. In every civilization, charismatic, religious, spiritual figures have emerged, claiming insight into the deepest questions of existence. Some offered wisdom, compassion, and genuine transformation. Others became trapped in the ancient temptations of power, wealth, ego, sexuality, institutional control, and fame. The three red flags in religious spiritual life: picture, personality, and price tag. We need to revert that into people practicing principles. And you know, today's modern global yoga and so-called spirituality have not escaped this pattern. In fact, they are an outcome of it. Now, every few decades, it seems that a new spiritual, if you will, celebrity appears. Followers gather, institutions start to form, money flows. A mythology often develops around the teacher. Defenders and critics polarize. Then allegations start to surface. And some of the movements collapse entirely. Others survive through denial, compartmentalization, or rebranding, such as Yogi Desai, who, when he got kicked out of Kripalu, went down to Florida and then years later resurfaced again. The names often change, but the pattern remains remarkably the same. And of course, this is not merely a Hindu problem, nor an Eastern problem, nor even a religious problem alone. Some patterns emerge among televangelists, political leaders, self-help gurus, self-help empires, wellness influencers, secular ideologues, conspiracy movements, and celebrity intellectuals. Human beings repeatedly project authority, certainty, and salvation onto charismatic personalities. But the modern so-called yoga spirituality, but not religious, of course, presents a particularly interesting contradiction. Many movements insist we are spiritual but not religious. Do they know the meaning of the word spiritual? Incorporeal. Therefore, no body, quote unquote, can be spiritual. For better or for worse, it is the religious teachings and practices that lead one to the incorporeal experiences, such as a mountain path leading to the one point at the top. Standing at the bottom, claiming all is one, no divisions, no labels, is naive at best. The rejection of religion quietly, oxymoronically, becomes a new religion. Classical Hindu and yogic traditions often warned explicitly about these dangers. Ancient renunciates repeatedly cautioned against fame, public display, attraction of followers, commercialization, ego inflation, attachment to siddhis, religious powers, and institutional corruption. Some of the greatest yogis, swamis, etc., intentionally avoided recognition. Many remained anonymous. Many taught one or a few students. If we look back at the Vedas, it was basically guru and one or two disciples. No mass movements, of course. Some disappeared entirely. Who knows how many countless profoundly realized individuals we never heard from? They disappeared into forests, mountains, caves, to precisely avoid becoming objects of projection and worship. This older spirit Didn't die, though. It still survives in the quiet ones. As a Swami from Sri Lanka said, and he really didn't want to be recognized, so we'll just use the quote. Think about this one. Quote, attracting people to yourself is another self-deluding activity, end quote. And when it comes to yoga, and remember the Sanskrit Hindu word yoga by itself has nothing to do with the physical body. What a shocker. It means yuj atman brahman cha, to yoke, Y-O-K-E, to one's atmana, which is the Hindu understanding of our inner essence, different from soul and spirit. And then Brahman, which is not God, it's a greater source of the atmana, which is Satchidananda, Jyoti Shakti Ananda Shanti, or we could say in English, love, light, and energy. Now, there are classic texts on the Hatha Yoga, asanas, chakras, kundalini, all things that are so enticing to many people today, but they're supposed to be kept rather secret or not on display. To a person, if we look at the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Giranda Samhita, Siva Samhita, Siddha Siddhanta Bhadati of Yogi Garakanath, they all beseech Siva because he epitomizes the Hatha Yogi, Adinada, Adi Guru. And they all said the same thing that Svatmarama said, Hatha Vidya, Bhaveda Yavate Guya, Niveda Tu Prakash Avaranam. This knowledge of Hatha is powerful when kept secret and loses power when it's displayed. Now, this doesn't mean that all the modern teachers are frauds, nor that all institutions are corrupt, nor does scandal automatically erase every useful teaching a person may have offered. But it must mean that seekers recover discernment, remembering that charisma is not necessarily realization. Confidence is not necessarily wisdom. Popularity is not necessarily enlightenment. Visibility does not ensure depth, and a large following is not proof of truth. Perhaps humanity now faces an important question. Do we want spiritual entertainment, or do we want transformation? Because those are not always the same thing. The answer, of course, is never blind faith. The answer is humility, which is wisdom. Don't confuse it with being humiliated. Something Hindus have been humiliated far too long. There is such a thing as being too tolerant, my friends. The answer, discernment, humility, honesty, self-inquiry, and the courage to separate timeless wisdom from the frailties of human ego. The quiet ones, they still exist. But to find them, one may first need to become quieter within oneself. Hopefully this has helped. So let's all try to keep it honest. As we follow the admonition of Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, written 2,000 years ago, relevant in any time, Asato ma sadgamaya, Tamaso ma jyotir gamaya, amrityorma amritam gamaya, Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Humbly praying, lead me from untruth to truth, however uncomfortable that may seem sometimes. May I humbly admit my ignorance in many areas of life, moving towards an ever more enlightened state of being. In light we're meant to be, the inner intuition, inner insight, plus the feeling of joy, buoyancy, lightness. And tap into that nectar within all of us, that love and light and energy. And let that radiate out into your Deha Mana Bhavaha, your body, mind, emotions. And then remember, we're all in this together, folks, so why not wish others well? Wish them peace. Wish them fullness and tranquility. Om Sarvesham Svasthir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. And remember, this peace must be a peace of strength, vira, and justice, dharma. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.